is the Awesemo Nhl Dfs strategy show, and I am your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy. And joining me today in the epic battle between good and evil for the fate of Earthrealm is the descendant of Kung Lao himself, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how are we doing today, bud?
I'm pretty good. Love the outfit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I even have my mask, but I figured I shouldn't wear a rubber mask on a show where we have to talk to people. I figured that'd be a bad idea.
Yeah. I'm assuming you're excited for Mortal Kombat tomorrow.
How could you tell, man? What gave it away? Yeah, as you guys can probably tell, I'm very excited for the release of Mortal Kombat tomorrow. Big Mortal Kombat fan, loved the original movie, watched that last night, but we're not here to talk about Mortal Kombat. We're here to talk about Blades of Glory. Before the show, Josh said that my outfit without the mask looked like Blades of Glory. That's why we made that joke. No, we're here to talk about hockey. So before we do all that, let's get into last night's slate. How'd you do on last night's slate? I actually cashed, which was nice because I think it was my first cash of the week. So once when you go 2 or 3 days without cashing, it can start to dig at you. So I was happy to cash last night. How'd you do?
Yeah, I was like 3x until McDavid decided to, go off in the final 90 seconds of the game and get the 3-point bonus. But I ended up min cashing. I'll take it. Kind of annoying. I don't know. Canadians pulled the goalie down 3 with 2 minutes left. Or, the Oilers put the goalie down 3 with 2 minutes left. They scored twice, so I guess it worked. But
yeah, that's just one of those things. Even if you think you faded the right line, I even noticed that in Toronto's last game. I think Matthews and Marner played 4.5 minutes right at the end of the game. So it's always such a sweat when you're fading those super expensive lines, because you know that even if they haven't done much through 55 minutes, that their coach is going to give them all the ice time they can handle down the stretch. So that little bit at the end of that Oilers Habs game probably sunk some people. Jonathan Marchessault, massive night last night. 2 goals, 2 assists. Matthias Janmark, goal and assist. He was on the line with them as Riley Smith was injured. Alex Tuck scored. I know we talked about Vegas and how they seem to be going through a downswing through March. Over their last few games, it seems like they've turned the corner and they're starting to look like that cup contender we expect them to be.
Yeah, and Tuck was really chalky because he was supposed to be up on that second line and people just ignorance is bliss. And he was 30%. So that goal really sucked. But if you didn't have Marchessault, you didn't have Talbot, you weren't going to win any GPPs last night.
Yeah, Marchessault, 2 goals, 2 assists, 5 with the shot bonus. On a 4-game slate, you're not going to get past that too often if you don't have him. I saw a couple people in our Slack chat had a good night last night, so congratulations to you guys. Let's hope we can have another good night here tonight. Before we get going here, if you guys could please like and subscribe, especially subscribe. It really helps us grow the channel here, helps us to the top of the algorithm, really helps us along. If you don't want to subscribe, to subscribe to Awesemo.com, you don't have to, but please subscribe to this channel. Click that bell if you want to get notified whenever we do come on the air. And if you aren't able to catch these shows, most of them, I should say, are available on podcast. Just head on over to Awesemo.com/podcast. I think it's everything except the live before locks go up there. Obviously, live before lock doesn't really do anything, so there's no point posting those, but they're available on all your favorite podcast platform. So head on over to Awesemo.com/podcast and leave a 5-star review for a chance to win a free week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That deal goes for up to a year, so you can win anytime in the next year. So head on over to Awesemo.com/podcast. Check out what we got going on over there for our podcast. All right, we've got 10 games today, which means we've got a pretty full slate to talk about. So let's get right into these games. We've got the Boston Bruins coming up first with a 3.3 implied goal total. They're going into Buffalo. The Buffalo Sabres have a 2.3 implied goal total. I believe that Boston's number has even come up through the day. I think it's over 3.5 now. So our first run for ownership doesn't have a lot of Boston, just under 3% for the entire top line. I kind of get it because it's a 10-game slate. There are a lot of expensive spots here, but where I see that implied goal total coming up, it makes me think Boston won. is going to carry more ownership than 3%. But there's more than just Boston 1 in this game to talk about. So what do you like here, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, even if Boston 1 comes in under 10%, I really like them tonight just because they're super expensive. They're 24,000. It's on a slate with Pittsburgh 1. There's the Torontos, there's Colorado, there's Winnipeg, there's a lot of expensive spots. So maybe, Boston does fly under the radar here just because they're over 24,000 to full stack. Maybe they don't fly under the radar. Maybe people just don't want to pay 24,000 over 24,000 on DraftKings to full stack them. But, this is a really good spot. Dustin Tokarski's in that. He's 6,700 on DraftKings. So I would imagine he's going to get some ownership just because, people love playing those cheap goalies. You're going to see volume. He's going to see volume tonight. The matchups don't really bother me. Bergeron's going to get whatever, the Reinhart line. They might go 11-7. We don't know yet. But, the matchup for the Bergeron line is going to be good regardless. So I really like the Boston top line, especially if they're going to be around, 3%. I would imagine they come up to 6-7%, something like that. But I still like being way over the field on them and MME. And even that second line with Hall, Krejci, and Smith, like they're coming in right now 1%. But I would imagine they creep up a little bit just because Taylor Hall is a very household name and he'll be popular. But I think, that second line is in a great spot. As you keep going down the Sabres, it doesn't get better, it gets worse. So I mean, so that second line's definitely in play. They're, not very expensive. I think they're 13-2 or something like that as a full line. So you can fit them in with the expensive stuff. So I think, that ownership right now, 1% is a little low. I'm not sure it's going to get above 5, something like that, but I think that second line's in play. If you really need, to get even cheaper in this game, you can go to that third line. The power play correlation isn't great, but Richie Coyle DeBrusque is a pretty decent third line. And then on the Buffalo side, I'm off the Skinner, Olofsson, Reinhart line, specifically if they get the Bergeron matchup. If you want to drop down to the second line, do like a Middlestad Thompson duo, it's okay. Like I know, like we've talked about how when Boston 1 is off the ice, their numbers kind of fall off a cliff, but they have gotten a bit healthier recently. And the Sabres have a 2.2 total at home. Like this is just bad. So like I'm probably going to be off the Sabres entirely, at least from like the skater standpoint. I might have, Rasmus Dahlin since he's 3,500 or Ristolainen and something like that. But for me, this is a Boston game.
Yeah, I'm off Buffalo too. I agree with you. All I'll say is that with their line matching, I think you can go to like Dylan Cousins, Anders Bjork as like a little 2-man, or Cousins, Ristolainen as a little 2-man or something like that, because they'll get the Boston third line. And I think the one matchup where Buffalo can do damage is in that third line versus third line matchup. But like, I'm not running out to go jam in some Buffalo third line on a 10-game slate, right? Like that'd be something I'd definitely consider on a 4 or 5 gamer. 10 gamer, I think it's just a little bit too deep. So I'm out on Buffalo entirely, at least the skaters. Boston, like the problem is like if you want to use the top line plus Grizzlick, like you're really running out of salary, right? If you use the top line plus Grizzlick, you're approaching 30,000. You add your goal, let's say an 8K goalie, you're approaching nearly 38,000, and then you have 12 to 13K left for a full stack plus a defenseman. So you're looking at $3,000 a player if you use full Boston 1 plus Grizzlick. So that's where I'm having the tough time here with Boston, is that I would love to use Boston 1 here, but man, that price, like I said, including Grizzlick, is just so expensive. So I think what I would do here, I don't have a problem with leaving Grizzlick off the stack. Buffalo doesn't take a ton of penalties. Like their penalty kill isn't good, so I think Boston can take advantage of it when they get their penalties. But the Buffalo penalty kill they haven't been taking a lot of penalties lately. So I think you're fine leaving off Grizzlick. Like I'm okay going back down to the second line, but I think you'll see some people go there as opposed to the top line, just to avoid, all that pricing, get some cheaper players. And then you can still fit in a decent stack elsewhere. So I do like Boston 1. I'm just going to think about how I'm going to have to fit them in. On the blue line, you mentioned Dahlin, Ristolainen. Like I think those two, I think Jokiharju's fine because he'll probably play over 20 minutes as well. On the Boston side, like I said, you can correlate with Grizzlick. but I think that makes Boston 1 too expensive. I'd be more apt to use like McAvoy with Boston 2 or something like that than Grizzly with Boston 1. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I built a couple lineups just messing around with salaries to see what I could fit in that. I left Grizzly off, one, because he's too expensive with Boston 1. 2, 5,000 Grizzly doesn't interest me at all. I wish Mike Riley was still on the power play, but I just have a hard time clicking in 5,000 Grizzly. He is what he is. I'll let Seth ruin me in chat for that take, but I agree with you with McAvoy with Boston 2. I'm not sure what happens with Riley now that Grizzly is back on the top power play. I would imagine Riley still gets his minutes. The coach was very high, said nice things about him, but without the power play time, I think I'm going to fade him tonight. So really, for me, like if I'm using Boston 2, McAvoy makes sense. Other than that, I'll probably be off the defenseman.
Yep, I agree with you. I'm not playing 8,500 Swayman. I never played an $8,500 goalie on the road. 6,700 Tokarski. Now that's interesting. I wrote him up in my Power Plays article this morning, and I just want to read a little bit. Over at Awesemo.com, I write up a Power Plays article every Thursday, so you can check that out on the site right now if you want to look at it. He sits at 1.15 goals saved above expected, but every other, which isn't a great mark, but every other Sabres goalie is in the negatives, and on a per minute basis, it's higher than regular starting goalies like Phil Grubauer and Cam Talbot. And he also has the highest high danger save percentage in the league. Now, it's been 10 games, not anywhere close to enough for a big enough sample, but he is playing well right now, and he's 6,700 and should get a lot of shot volume. Sounds like I'm talking myself into Tokarski. What do you think?
I mean, you take away the name and the stats, I consider anybody at 6,700 on DraftKings, right? Especially if they're going to see volume. What worries me is like we haven't had a Boston 1 or log out slate in a while, and in the back of my head, I was like, well, we're due for one. I mean, you can't really put in a faded goalie because someone's due for a big game. So he's going to see 35, 40 shots. If he saves 3 of them and even gets like a loss, get the bonus there, and he's around 15 to 20 DK points, I think he's going to pay off at his salary.
Yeah, it was a good point brought up in a chat earlier today. Like if they have 40 shots against and he allows 4 goals, he still goes 2x at his price. So like he really has to blow up to suck here tonight. So I don't mind Tokarski either. All right, enough talking about the Buffalo Sabres. Let's get to the next game. Washington Capitals 2.6 implied goal total going into New York. The Islanders have a 3.0 implied goal total. Ilya Samsonov going for the Caps. Semyon Varlamov projected for the Islanders, but we don't, they usually don't announce their starter. They sometimes don't announce their starter until closer to lock. So I think there's something on both sides here. And I think this is also a game a lot of people will avoid. So I want to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah. From 1 to 3 lineup perspective or a limited amount of lineups, if you're not, fully MMEing like a 20 max or a, 150 max, it's tough to really settle on something in this game. This is more of an MME game, but there are some things that I like on both sides. If you want to play the Ovechkin line, I'm never going to stop you, especially if Ovi's going to be low owned like he is. The thing is, like, the Islanders are good. They're good defensively. They ended the Rangers season effectively the other night, which was sad, but, the kids may get some more minutes, but we'll get there. I'll never stop you from playing Alex Ovechkin. Where I want to use the Caps tonight is probably that second line, Mantha, Backstrom, Oshie. They are, semi-expensive. They're like in the mid-16s. But if you're doing like a mid-range build where you're doing, you have 2 lines around like 14 to 17,000, I think that makes some sense, especially in MME. They have decent power play correlation. Not that the Islanders take a lot of penalties, but their penalty kill has been a bit iffy lately. So yeah, I like that second line. If you want to use that top line, that's fine. On the Islanders side, the top line is okay. I'd rather someone else besides Travis Zajac be there. It's kind of weird seeing Barzal on the wing. I was hoping Barzal would center that line with Eberle and Palmieri, or someone else, like, but I guess they want to keep Zajac at center after trading for him. So I guess that kind of makes sense. the second line with Michael Dal-Cole, if he sticks there, is kind of iffy. But if you want to use a Nelson Palmieri duo, I think that's perfectly fine. Where I want to use the Islanders is that third line. They had a great game against the Rangers. They're going to get the depth matchups. Not that like there's any horrific defensive lines for the Capitals, but they're not going to, run into. I don't think they're going to run into Backstrom too much. And JG Pajot, Beauvillier, Bailey, they're cheap. They're the most expensive person on the line is Beauvillier, 3,800. JG Pajot at 3,800. They got two guys on the top power play. Bailey's on the second power play. Their ownership's in check. I think this is a third line you can definitely use.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the line matching because the Islanders have kind of been all over the place since they got those guys at the deadline. They got Zajac and Palmieri at the deadline. Their last game, they actually sent out Brock Nelson and Michael Dal-Cole against Buchnevich and Zibanejad. That would tell me that Nelson and Dal-Cole and Palmieri might be going out against Kuznetsov and Ovechkin here tonight. So that would tell me two things. One, that's a good matchup for Washington, because Michael Dal-Cole, he is not ready for that role to shut down Alex Ovechkin in any sense of the word. And two, I do like the Barzal line here because the way they've gone back to their old line matching, which is sending the Barzal line out against third and fourth lines. As good as Washington might be, like there aren't a lot of teams with super good third and fourth lines. Like Washington's isn't bad, but it's not something I'm super afraid of. So I think I like both top lines in this game. If I had to pick one, it would probably be Washington. I get that it's scary to go up against this Islanders team. They don't take a ton of penalties, but we have Washington coming in at 2% ownership. Like if I can get Alex Ovechkin's line at 2%, even on a 10-game slate, I'm probably going to take that chance. So I like Washington 1 for the ownership here. I don't mind Islanders 1 either because they should get some depth matchups. On the blue line, I noticed they put Leddy and Pulak on the same power play and then put Dobson on what I guess would be the top power play unit, but Dobson's only playing 14, 15 minutes a night. So what do you do with the defenseman there?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like when early in the season when Dobson was on the top power play and he was like almost 4,000, he was playing like 19, 20 minutes a night. Now he's down to 14, 15, but I guess he is min price. So if you want to put him in there, I think, for top power play min price, if you need a punt, I think it's an okay spot. I'd rather, I don't know if I'd rather use Pulak. The price disparity is just so big. So I think I'd probably stick to Dobson if I needed a punt. And on the cap side, Carlson, if you're using caps one, I think correlating with Carlson makes sense. Other than that, I mean, there's not much that really sticks out for defensemen.
Yeah, I agree. There's not a whole lot for blue liners in this game other than correlating that I really like. In gold, they're all priced around that 7,700, 7,800 mark. It seems like that's almost intentional because they don't really know what's going to happen in this game either. I don't really like the prices for any of those.
Yeah, it's just a little bit too expensive on both sides for my comfort.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't really like these goalies and in the spot even. All right, we'll move it along then. Let's talk about our brand new show sponsor. Our show sponsor is JockMKT, and what JockMKT has done is turned fantasy sports into a stock exchange. JockMKT allows you to buy and sell shares of players in real time for real money with guaranteed payouts for all shares at the end of each night. With daily markets for NBA, NHL, and PGA, you can make real money every hour, every minute, every second of any game or match. Use the pregame IPO to pick up shares of your favorite players and buy, sell, or hold them during the game based on your analysis. Download the app today to get started and use our exclusive Awesemo promo code Awesemo NHL20 for a $20 bonus on your first deposit. This is an exclusive offer only for the Awesemo community, so make sure to take advantage of it today. That's Awesemo NHL20, the number 20, at our show sponsor JockMKT for a free $20 on your first deposit. Okay, let's keep this train rolling along. Our next game is going to be Carolina with a 2.8 implied goal total going into Florida. The Panthers have a 2.8 implied goal total as well. I believe it's Alex Nedeljkovic is going for Carolina, and Sergei Bobrovsky is going for Florida. I kind of like both sides of this game as well. I think there's stuff to talk about on both sides of this game. What do you like?
Yeah. Well, the big news is Mason Marchment's out tonight. So Florida 1 has a complete line here. Patrick Hornquist up with Barkov and Gusev, fully correlated on the power play. Love to see it. Where's Vots? Something we love to see. Yeah. Not the best matchup, but fully correlated on the power play with their shot rates. I think you definitely can go there. Ownership, double digits does concern me a little bit with the 2.8 total going in, going up against a Aho Svechnikov line. Not my favorite, but I definitely think you can do it because they're fully correlated on the power play. That second line is going to be popular tonight. Huberdeau, Bennett, Duclair, they've been great. Mainly because they've been getting the line A line. Sam Bennett's obviously better than he showed in Calgary, but line A is incredibly bad, so it definitely aided his performance. But he is 2,900. His price hasn't moved, so I think you can use that second line. Their 12-9 is a full line. I think they're going to be popular with the Pitt ones, with the Boston ones, with the Colorado power plays type deal, that kind of stuff. But I still think you can go to that second line. And then, on the Carolina side, I know the Aho Svechnikov matchup is going to get the Barkov line, but, if you're on the Barkov line, I think you can be on the Aho Svechnikov line in MME. Where I really like the Canes is that second line, Trocheck, Niederreiter, Netchus. It's not really a surprise. That's been my favorite line on Carolina all year. Their ownership right now is around under 1%. I would imagine that bumps up a little bit, but their price is in the 16, so it's in kind of in no man's land with a lot of people going stars and scrub type build, to fit in the Bostons, the Pittsburghs, et cetera, et cetera. So they actually may go overlooked, but I think this is a good spot getting the depth of Florida. So I like them a lot. So I think both top sixes are in play for me tonight. Mainly in MME because it is a low total, and they're two of the better teams in the NHL.
Yeah, I like that Carolina 2 call a lot. And for this reason is that Florida's penalty kill has really dropped off, especially since Aaron Ekblad's injury. Like, they have a bottom 5 penalty kill in the league over the last 10 games. That's not good, especially when you're going up against the Carolina team with as much firepower as they have. And I like the Carolina 2 call because Trocheck's on the top power play unit, Necas and Niederreiter on the second unit. So ostensibly, if they score on the power play and you stack the second line, you should get some power play points out of it. And then with Brett Pesce running the second power play unit, you can throw together Carolina 2 with Pesce and have a relatively cheap stack, as opposed to having to use, Aho Svechnikov and throwing a 7,200 Dougie Hamilton in there with them. So I do like that Carolina 2, and then throwing like a Pesce or a Gardner or something like that on with them. Take advantage of that bad Florida penalty kill. I'm probably going to be out on Florida here tonight, and it's just ownership reasons. Actually, I should say it's 2 reasons. One, Alex Nedeljkovic, there's an argument he's been the best goalie in the NHL this year, and that's not an exaggeration. If you look at some of his numbers, a great high danger save percentage, great goal save above expected, all that stuff. He's been excellent. The other reason is ownership. Like you talked about earlier, their ownership is probably going to be a bit high. We have them coming in between 9 and 10%, and that was with Owen Tippett on the top line. With Patrick Hornquist there, I imagine that's going to probably be closer to 10 to 15%. So I won't play a 10 to 15% line against Carolina, especially with the way Nedeljkovic is playing. And I agree with you on Sam Bennett. I think they took advantage of some really good matchups, and I'm going to try to avoid some ownership there as well. So at the very least, I'm out on the Florida top 6. I don't mind Frank Vetrano. He's been just absolutely en fuego lately. He's on the third line. He'll get third line matchups. We've talked about it before, how Jordan Staal just doesn't look the same without Svechnikov. So, but I think Vetrano as a one-off might be fine. But I think for me in this game, it's about Carolina 2. On the blue line, like I said, I think I prefer somebody like Pesce over Hamilton tonight. What do you have on the blue line?
Yeah, I mean, the world isn't ready for my Pesce impression because, Mortal Kombat gear and a Pesce impression.
Not on the same show.
And the dog crying. The world is not ready. I'm not ready. But yeah, I agree. Pesce, for sure with Carolina too. I know Mackenzie Weegar is back for Florida, which kind of boosts them a little bit defensively. He's 3,400. I think that is fine. Gustav Forsling, 3,300. It's fine. Yandel, 3,500 if you're using the power play, I guess. But, like, I don't know. I prefer Weegar, Forsling, and even Brandon Montour at 3,600.
Yeah, I won't say no to Yandel if you're playing Florida power play, but man, those have been some empty minutes of late. In goal, like I said, like I don't know if you have to use Nedeljkovic, but 7,500, Florida has been a high shooting team for most of the year. I certainly don't mind using him in correlated lineups. What do you think about using him as a one-off?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. Florida's shot rate is one of the highest in the league. I like Nedeljkovic. His price is okay. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but it's, it is what it is. I think you can put him in more with Carolina lineups, but I honestly don't mind him as a one-off tonight.
All right, good enough. Just looking back over our schedule, I just want to make sure I had all the games in here. Okay, we do. All right. No, I just want to make sure we had all the games in here. Next game, New Jersey, 2.5 implied goal total going into Pittsburgh. The Penguins have a 3.6 implied goal total. I believe Mackenzie Blackwood is still injured, so it looks like it's going to be I guess we'll say probably Scott Wedgwood, but both their goalies got lit up pretty hard last game, so who knows who it's going to be, but will be Tristan Jarry for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like I said, last game was 7-6. It was a 6-0 game going into the third period, and Pittsburgh won 7-6. One of the craziest games I've honestly ever seen in hockey. Ty Smith out again for the Devils. Will Butcher in again for the Devils. Will Butcher, top power play minutes, played over 20 minutes last game. What do you like here?
Butcher. It's kind of the same thing as the other night. Like, Pittsburgh one's going to be chalk tonight. they're our top team in the top stacks tool. I get it. I am going to fade them again tonight. Just from an ownership play, just because you see like Boston one is like what, $1,800 more expensive, but their ownership is like a fifth of Pittsburgh one. Colorado's ownership is way lower. I don't know. I like the Hughes Sharangovich line defensively and offensively. So the Crosby line, even though they scored 7 goals, like they scored a late 7th goal to really get them there. So like it took them 7 goals to get there. Like obviously that can change. Like they can go like just crazy in this game, but like if they're going to be around 20% on a 10-game slate, just from an ownership play, I'm going to fade them. If you want to use them, they're fully correlated. They may be in the best spot of the night. The top stacks tool thinks they're in the best spot of the night. So if you want to use them, go for it. But from ownership play, I'm going to be out on them. I like that second line again. They had a big game the other night. McCann has been great since Malkin has been out. He's on the top power play. That line with Carter and Zucker is very good. Their ownership is in check. It's a 3.6 total. And like I always try to say, if you want to get exposure to a team in a high total, you go to the seconds or third lines and you get way lower ownership. And I really like the second line. They're going to avoid the Hughes matchup. They're going to get Heischer and Janssen or whoever else. So, I'm on the pit 2 again. And then on the New Jersey side, I think, NJ1 was a bit more popular than I wanted to the other night. And I think, after kind of a decent game, I think they're going to be a semi-popular filler. Like if they're going to be 5-6% on a 10-game slate, I'm going to be out on the Devils tonight. I'm not high on Tristan Jarry. I don't think he's a great goalie, but like, I don't know if I want to rely on, the Devils having a repeat, performance with no pressure on down 6 goals in the third. Like they easily can put up a dud tonight with 1 or 2 goals and lose like 4-1. So I'm probably going to be out for the most part on the Devils. Really, this game, I really like pit 2.
Yeah, this is a bit of a different game than the last one because Jesper Bratt is back in the lineup and Pavel Zacha is back in the lineup. Not like they're, game-changing players, but when you can bring in above average players compared to what the Devils have there before, it does make them a little bit tougher. I agree with you on pit 2. I even wrote up Jason Zucker in my power plays article this morning. He's only 3,500 over on DK. Ownership projections have him at around 5%. He's not on the top PP unit. So at 3,500, I think he's fine, like as a one-off guy to use. That's why I have him in my power plays article. But like they've been really good in 4 games together, 3 expected goals per 60 minutes, 5.5 actual goals scored. So I'm with you. I do like Pitt 2 here. On the blue line, there isn't a lot that I really like. Like Mike, we brought up Matheson in our last show and he got there for us. Boomer from the blue line, but he played only like 16 minutes. So that's a bit of a concern for me. I think Will Butcher's fine. Like I said, taking Ty Smith's spot on the top PP unit. What sticks out to you?
Yeah, really, Butcher. If you're going to tell me Matheson's going to get 20 minutes, I want to play him. If you think he's going to have 15, 16 like last game, I'm going to fade him. So really, if you're playing Devils, Butcher makes sense. Other than that, I'm looking elsewhere.
Yep. Okay. I'm good with that. In goal, I'm not playing either goalie. Are you?
No. And I know Blackwood skated this morning, but I think he's out.
I think so too.
Yeah. 8,400 Tristan Yari currently projected at 25% ownership. Like, throw me in the Hudson.
Yeah. I mean, even if Blackwood was in, like, he's not having a great season, right? Like, he's not, like, he's probably better than Wedgwood, but it's not like he's been blowing the doors off this year either. So, yeah, probably no goalies for me for this game. All right, let's move it along to our next one. Columbus Blue Jackets, 2.0 implied goal total. Going into Tampa Bay, the Bolts have a 3.6 implied goal total. According to our top stacks tool, Tampa's top line is going to be one of the chalkiest lines of the night. Can't really blame them because the price on Alex Barry-Boulette hasn't really come up, and they're still perfectly correlated. So even though we have them as 8% as a top 2 stack, they're coming in around 17% owned as a trio. That is very, very high. But it is a great matchup. I think we definitely have to talk about Tampa Bay. So talk about what you want to do with that top line, and then what else do you like there?
So I'm kind of conflicted. I have 2 like varying opinions on it. One, they fit with Pitt 1, which is going to be a problem. Like, that's going to be a chalky build, and that concerns me. You just got to be wary of dupes. Like, leave a couple $100 salary on the table when you're putting in your last D-man if you're doing that, and that should be fine. They have very high, ownership and negative correlation, but the problem is they're going to get that line A matchup, most likely, right? Yeah. So you saw what Sam Bennett did to them. Sam Bennett. This is, Tampa top line, right? Getting the line A matchup. The matchups don't get better than that. So I think if you're going to use them, maybe be wary. Don't use Pitt 1. Maybe use like a Carolina 2 with them. Like, do like a mid-range build and have more expensive D-men. Like, find ways to get different. I think the Tampa top line is in one of the best spots of the night. They're only 14,000, fully correlated. So yeah, they're going to be popular. The price, the matchup, everything, like the stars are aligning. So I think if you're going to use them, you just got to be a bit wary of how you fill out the rest of your lineup. But I think you can definitely play them. The Coleman Gord Gaudreau line is going to get the Roslovic matchup, and I think that's good for the Gord line. I think you can play them. I know they don't correlate very good at all on the power play, but they're going to be out there for 17, 18 minutes. I think they're a very good filler line tonight. And then on the Blue Jacket side, like, I'm pretty much out on them. Like, I don't want to play the Roslovic line going into the Gord matchup. I don't want to have the Texier line going into the point matchup, and then I have no interest in the depth and in the 2.0 total.
Yeah, I am really wondering exactly which lines get which, because the last couple games Tampa Bay played against Carolina, they had been sending out point against Aho. So like, do they think Patrick Laine is the top line here, or is it the Cam Atkinson line? Like, if they keep matching, I assume it's going to be the top line against Bjorkstrand and Atkinson. Like, I think that's probably –
it's still a great matchup.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, Columbus just sucks. Like we talk about, okay, like maybe the top line would be a tougher matchup, but it's 1.5 expected goals, 4 per 60, 2.3 expected goals against, or 2.5 expected, or 2.3 expected goals against per 60. So like, what are we looking at? Like a 38% expected goal share or something like that. Like, even if they get the top line, it doesn't matter. I just don't want to play them at that ownership. I really don't. Like I said on the last game, Barry Boulette hasn't really looked that good on the top line. And he's a guy we were high on. Like, we want him to succeed. He just hasn't looked great. I mean, they're leaving him there because it doesn't really matter for them. They're just cruising to the playoffs anyway. But he just hasn't looked that good. So, like, I don't mind the Tampa third line here, actually, because if they're not going to use them in a shutdown role and you're going to send them out against, like, Eric Robinson or Stefan Matteau, like, it's just a complete mismatch. So, like, if you want to just, like, two-man Goodrow and Coleman and then throw in a cheap defenseman like McDonough or Savard, I'm completely fine with that, because then you can get to your expensive stacks elsewhere and you get good players in a great matchup, in a 3.6 total that won't carry a lot of ownership. So I think what I would do in the Tampa game is bump down to the second, if not the third line. That's where my focus is going to be. Nothing on Columbus for me. On the blue line, Mikhail Sergachev has really started to lose a lot of ice time since David Savard's gotten there. It's like 18, 19, 20 minutes where he had been 22, 23. So I think I'm going to be out on Sergachev. Who are you in on?
Yeah, I'm in on. I mean, Hedman's really expensive. And real quick, if you're worried about Barry Boulette, I think you can go like Palat, Point, Killorn, and do that to get unique. Anyway, I like Chernak. I like McDonough. I like Savard. Savard's still the cheapest of the three. He's playing over 20 minutes. I think you can do that. On the Columbus side, if you want to use Seth Jones, I guess. I'm not interested. I'm not really interested on anyone on the Columbus side.
Yeah, don't really have interest. Like I said, I think I'm more apt to use the cheaper defenseman from Tampa Bay than anything here. One final note on this game. I'm not using either goalie, are you? I mean, Mr. Lickens is fairly cheap, so I guess we should mention him.
Yeah, I mean, if you're ever going to, use a goalie against Tampa, it's when they're without, Kucherov and Stamkos. So I guess, Lickens will be a night, like, he's a good swap off of Tokarski if you're worried about Tokarski's ownership.
Yeah, okay, I like that. And just to your point about power play stacking, Columbus has the 5th most penalty kill time on ice since the trade deadline. Earlier in the season, they hadn't really been taking many penalties, but they have been of late. So that is definitely one area where we can attack them. Before we move along, just letting everyone know that we have some free content up on the site over at Awesemo.com. We have free content almost every day, today being no exception. We have both NBA and NHL ownership projections. You've just heard us talk about ownership all show. NBA and NHL free for today. We have MLB top pitchers free for today. And we have MMA fighter rankings all for free up at Awesemo.com. All right, let's move this along. Philly 2.7 implied goal total going into New York. The Rangers have a 3.4 implied goal total. I mean, Philly's lines are just a complete mess. They've been mixing them up for a few games now. Wade Allison looks like he's staying in on the second line. One thing I want to mention is we brought up Sean Couturier a lot about his hip injury. He said a few days ago that his hip injury is basically fine now. And I actually looked at his numbers, and him and James van Riemsdyk, he's not playing with JVR now, but him and JVR over the last few weeks are at least at like 54% expected goal share. So it does look like Couturier's healthier and playing better. So that really changes the way I look at this game. How are you looking at this game from a Rangers fan perspective?
I mean, Alexis Lafreniere is back on the top line, which I like because they're not mathematically eliminated, but like after that game and Pittsburgh and Boston won the other night, it's going to be a tough mountain to climb. So I like that they're giving Lafreniere top minutes here. I would imagine the Zibanejad line gets Couturier matchup. It's not something, I know we were picking on Couturier earlier, but like with Lafreniere up there, it's not something that I really want to do. And you see like the ownership, Mika Zibanejad at 7,100 at 12%. Like it's not. I don't really want to play a 7,100 Mika Zibanejad at that percentage on a 10-game slate. Where I'm looking at the Rangers is Strome Panarin. I've been looking there for the past few weeks. They've been their best line. If you want to leave Blackwell off and put on someone like Kreider to make them fully correlated on the power play, I think you can do that. Panarin's easily their best player. Like all you have to do is, You can look at the numbers, you can watch the games. Panarin is far and away their guy. He's making Strome look amazing. That's where I want to go. They're going to not get the Couturier. They'll probably get Hayes or even Lawton, something like that. So yeah, I really like Rangers too. And then on the Flyer side, I don't mind that Couturier line. They're fully correlated on whatever power play they are. I don't know what AV does with his power plays. So I think you can use that Couturier line. I kind of like that third line, JVR, Lawton, Konechny. They're going to get, the Hita line, and that line could be had. Kreider being there maybe makes it better, but his hockey IQ, especially defensively, is not very high. He's just kind of a bull on skates. So, I like that third line, especially like a Van Riemsdyk connecting two-man. It's not super expensive. They're going to be low owned. They're on the power play together. So, yeah, Rangers 2, a little bit of that Flyers top line and MME and, Van Riemsdyk connecting.
Yeah, I really, really like that Rangers 2 call here tonight. One, I think you're going to see a lot of Rangers 1 because Lafreniere's min price. Like, it just brings down the average cost per player so much when you have a min price player skating on the top line. And I want to get away from that Couturier matchup again. I think I'm back at the point where I don't want to go into Couturier anymore. So I'm getting off. I should rephrase that. Getting away from Rangers 1.
Dismounting.
And I'm going to Rangers too because they're going to get Hayes, Allison, and Farabee in the matchup. Like, Hayes is a decent two-way center. I like him. But Farabee, he's a rookie, below average defensively so far this year. Wade Allison is a rookie. It's like, his third NHL game or something like that. And you're going to go up against Strowman, Panarin, and Blackwell, a line that's been just shredding it for months now. No, that's not going to go well. I love Rangers 2 here tonight. You mentioned the power play units for Philly. They are really messed up. So let me go through them as best I can. JVR with Konechny and Farabee and Hayes. So you have two guys on the second line and two guys on the third line with Gostisbehere, and then the entire top line with Wade Allison plus Provorov on another power play unit. So, I think Philly 1 might be in play here. Rangers top line hasn't been elite. Lafreniere is not going to help them defensively. And they're perfectly correlated on the top power play unit. I don't mind playing Rangers 1 here tonight, or not Rangers 1, Philly 1 here tonight. Sorry. Especially where our ownership is well in check, under 5%. We have them between 4 and 5%. So don't mind Philly 1. But my focus here is Rangers 2. On the blue line with no Jacob Trouba's, he's in concussion protocol, if I'm not mistaken, right? So Keandre Miller is probably going to get some secondary PP minutes. Don't mind him tonight. I'm not using either goalie either. So what do you like for defensemen and goalies here?
Yeah, I agree with Keandre Miller. If you want to correlate your Flyers defenseman, if you're, using a specific power play stock, I think that's fine. Sanheim 2,600 seems a little bit too cheap for me. I know he hasn't had a great season at all, but it doesn't really matter for DraftKings. He just needs to hit the block bonus tonight at 2,600. I'll take that chance. I'm interested to see Zach Jones tonight, but I don't think he's even in the DK player pool right now. He might be, but he's a wait and see. Goalies, yeah, I'm off them tonight.
Yeah, I have no interest. Sturkin at 8,100, just a little bit too expensive for me. All right, getting to maybe the main event of the evening. Who knows? The Toronto Maple Leafs are going into Winnipeg. Toronto has a 3.2 implied goal total. Winnipeg is at 2.8. Some lineup notes here. Nick Foligno, he's done serving his quarantine post-trade deadline, so he's in the lineup for Toronto on the top line with Matthews and Marner. Alex Galchenyuk down to the second line with Tavares and Nylander. Expecting Toronto to still have that loaded top power play unit. Winnipeg brings back Andrew Kopp. He's going to go to the third line with Matthew Perreault going down to the fourth. What do you like?
Man, so I have a couple I want to fade Toronto 1 tonight because Nick Foligno is somewhere in between, Joe Thornton and Hyman. He's somewhere in between there. He's trending towards Thornton.
I'd say he's worse than either of those guys by a fair margin.
Hyman's way better. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe he's rejuvenated being on a playoff team for the first time since the 1800s. I don't know. But oh no, I guess Columbus made it last year.
Yeah, anyway, they made it last year.
Well, anyway, so one thing that troubles me, right? For fading them, they may get that third line, Lowry, Appleton, Kopp, or they may get the Scheifele Wheeler matchup, and that is, Scheifele and Wheeler together this season have been brutal defensively. And so, like, if it's that matchup, it's a great matchup for Matthews. If it's the third line, it's a great matchup for Matthews. I just don't like Foligno there. I really want to use the Toronto second line, Tavares, Nylander, Galchenyuk.
Just to cut in real quick, I think it's going to be the third line because Edmonton was just in Winnipeg a couple days ago, and they sent that third line out against McDavid and Draisaitl. So if they put him out against them, they'll put him out against Matthews and Marner.
Yeah, so that's a great matchup for Matthews. Like, that third line isn't good. Maybe Kopp makes them a little bit better.
No, he actually makes them worse.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Like, that's the only problem I have with fading them because, like, Foligno up there is just bleh. But, like, Matthews and Marner has been the best duo all season. They're 17-4 together, but Foligno brings their price down. I imagine their ownership's going to be very high. I want to use Toronto, too, because Willie Nylander is the best winger on the Leafs. Like, it's not close.
Ooh.
Not close.
Spicy. I like it.
40 assists, but all he does is sneeze, and the puck goes to Matthews, and he deposits it.
Okay, fair enough.
Nylander's their best scoring winger.
Okay.
Yeah. They're going to get the Stasny Dubois Ehlers matchup, and, that's an okay matchup. Like, the ownership's going to be lower. Like, Tavares has come to life. I really like Galchenyuk there more than, Kerfoot. He's a better player than Kerfoot, so I like that second line. If I was going to go to Toronto, I go to that second line. I completely understand if you want to go to Toronto 1, it's a great matchup. What I think you can also do is, power play stack. The Jets penalty kill isn't great, so I think you can use either the top two lines for Toronto or do some kind of power play stack. On the Leafs side, if that third line, on the Jets side, if that third line's going up against Matthews, that means, Scheifele, Connor, Wheeler is going to get the Kerfoot line, I would imagine, with Simmons. I think Soup is still out, so it might be Thornton there. I like that top line. The Leafs can be had defensively. They've been very bad defensively recently. Those Canucks games, they lost both of them, and they weren't even playing that bad. Like, oh, God, the Leafs. So I think you can use Jets 1. If you want to use Jets 2, I think that's fine as well. I prefer Jets 1.
Yeah, I'll just say quickly, I like both top lines here tonight for matchup purposes. Like, even though I don't think much of Nick Foligno, like, Toronto 1 should run over that Winnipeg 3 matchup. And I think Winnipeg 1, even with Blake Wheeler there, should be able to do some damage against the depth from Toronto. So I like both top lines here. I like the idea of, like, power play stacking the Leafs because they do have a stacked top line, but it's a bad matchup at even strength for the second line for Toronto. So I think even if they're somewhat popular, like, their ownership actually isn't crazy for us. We have them at 15% or 15% top 2, 7% ownership. So Toronto 1 ownership is in check. Even if that doubles, it's still a good leverage spot. So I like Toronto 1 a lot here tonight. Defenseman, I think we're at the point where we're just leaving off Toronto defenseman completely. I like Derek Forbort. He's starting to get some minutes for Winnipeg. What else do you like?
That's really about it. If you want to use Pionk, I think that's fine. Riley, 5,100 is a pass. If he was like 4,000, yeah, I'd put him in on a power play stack, but I'm off the Leafs defenseman.
Yeah, just to put a point on it, the third line for Winnipeg with Perreault there, 1.3 expected goals against per 60 minutes. Without Perreault there, it almost doubles to 2.4. So, Andrew Copp, you're making them worse, bud. Sorry. All right, we got to keep this show rolling, but we love celebrating subscriber success here. So if you can bank some bigger contests and send your screenshot to our Awesemo Hoff account or to any of our Awesemo social accounts showing your bank with the Awesemo avatar profile, we'll be sure to shout you out. And if it's a top 3 in a contest with over 5,000 entries, you can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. So hit up awesemo.com/announcement/avatar for full details. Just make sure that if you bank, you bank small, you bank large. We love them all. We love our banks, big and small here. Send it to the Awesemo Hoff Twitter account or any of our social accounts, just to get a little shout out. And if it's a big enough bank, big enough contest, chance to win a free month of Awesemo Plus. Not a bad little deal. All right. 3 games to get to. We got 6 or 7 minutes to get through them. This next one's not a whole lot to talk about anyway. So let's get right through it. Dallas, 3.2 implied goal total going into Detroit. Detroit has a 2.2 implied goal total. Dylan Larkin, Robbie Fabry out for Detroit, which means I have no interest in the Red Wings whatsoever. Dallas, Rope Hintz and Miro Heiskanen are both game time decisions as well. We've been playing this game with Rope Hintz for a while. I just want to mention one thing. Dallas won with Hintz, like Hintz, Pavelski, and Robertson, is 19.2. And we'll get to this game later, but Colorado, McKinnon, Kadri Burakovsky is 19K, and McKinnon, Landeskog, Comfort is 18.7. So if you want to play Hintz and he's scratched again, there are Colorado swaps you can make. That's all I want to say. What do you got?
I'm out on the Red Wings. We'll just get that out of the way.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to assume Hintz plays tonight. It's not a back-to-back, so I'm going to err on the side of caution and think he plays. And if that's the case, love Dallas 1, love Dallas 2, especially Ben and Gurionov. They've been very good recently. Dickinson's 3K. He's not going to kill you, so you can put him in. Heiskanen, I don't know if he's going to be in or out, but if he's out, I think Esa Lindell is a very good play tonight. Klingberg, if you're using Dallas 1.
You didn't even mention Alexiak. I can't believe that.
Oh, I'm going to lose my contract.
Yeah.
My contract.
I'll say I don't mind Alexiak. I will say flat out that in lineups where I am going to have Hintz lineups tonight, and I'll just swap them over to Colorado. Like I said, McKinnon, Kadri, Burakovsky is one swap you can make, and McKinnon, Landeskog, Comfort, because Comfort was on the power play, is another swap you can make. So I will be in on Hintz, Pavel, especially with Larkin and Fabry out. There's nothing there. There's just nothing that can stop this Dallas team. So really like Dallas 1 here tonight. All right, Colorado, St. Louis. I just talked about this game briefly. Colorado has a 3.2 implied goal total going to St. Louis. The Blues have a 2.7 implied goal total. There still is, St. Louis still isn't showing any signs of turning it around. Mikko Rantanen and Bowen Byram still out for Colorado. Andre Burakovsky is going to jump to the top line for the Avs. Before they went on their little COVID break, Comfort was on the top power play unit for the Avs. It wasn't Burakovsky or Kadri or any of those guys. So what the power play is going to look like is kind of up in the air, but what do you like in this game?
Yeah, I mean, if it is Comfort on the top power play, I still think you can go to, Avs 1 with Burakovsky there. He's, a downgrade obviously from Rantanen, but he's not some slouch. He's a good player. They're going to get the O'Reilly matchup, which is okay, but Sammy Blais really brings down that line defensively. O'Reilly, Perron, kind of sludge fest, but McKinnon's going to, drive the play. He may even shoot more now with Rantanen out. You see him more active. So I do really like Colorado 1. Man, with Comfort and Soderberg with Kadri on that second line, it's kind of a weird line. They're going to probably get, I would imagine, the Bozak, Tarasenko, Schwartz line. Bozak being there is kind of weird too. I think you can use Colorado too. With the power play being unsure, it could be Kadri, could be Burakovsky, could be Soderberg, could be Comfort. It's just hard to, rely on power play correlation for that second line. So I guess you can use, because Comfort and Soderberg are almost been priced. So you can use that second line as a filler. And that third line is pretty nice, with Yost and Shushkin and Saad. They're going to get, probably the depth, Hoffman, Shen, Kyrou, which is, nothing to ride home defensively. So that third line's a decent filler as well. And on the Blues side, these lines are kind of tough. I really want to use that third line, Hoffman, Shen, Kyrou, but this isn't the matchup, I don't think, for me. So I'm probably going to be pretty underweight on the Blues.
Yeah, I'm out on the Blues entirely. I actually have Colorado 3 circled on my sheet as well. I like that call from you. Hoffman and Kyrou, yeah, they're going to get Braden Shen, but Braden Shen's not an elite defensive center or anything like that. Hoffman and Kyrou this year, 42.5% expected goal share when they're on the ice together. Now, that's been with Bozak, but like I said, I don't think Braden Shen is this massive improvement defensively. So I think Colorado 3 kind of makes sense as a filler stack. But like I just mentioned, I might end up on some Colorado. I don't have any top Colorado stacks right now. I might end up on some Colorado just because I might have to switch over from Hintz. Like I said, Comfort was on the power play before the break. So if he's there again, you can put McKinnon and Landeskog with Comfort, and that comes into about the price of Dallas 1, and you can just go about your day. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Real quick on the blue line, looks like Colorado's going to a heavy top four with a bottom pair they're not going to use. So, like, what do you do in a situation like that?
Yeah, I mean, you look and their prices are very similar, except for McCarr, who's way more expensive. If you want to put him on the power play, that's fine. But really, I like Taze and Girard tonight, 4,800, 4,500 respectively. I think they're going to get, mid 20s in the minutes. So I think you can put them in.
Yeah, I like Devin Taves here as well. All right. We're going to get through this last game real quick. We have the Ottawa Senators with a 2.8 implied goal total going into Vancouver. Vancouver Canucks have a 3.2 implied goal total. Vancouver just straight up PDO'd the Leafs. Like, let's call it for what it is. They shot 15% with 970 goaltending. Like, that's just what it is. I wrote up Ottawa 1 here tonight in my Power Plays article. I like them. What do you like?
I love Ottawa 1 tonight. I see the Canucks ownership is high again. Baffles me. I'm going to be underweight on the Canucks. If they're going to be, 14% on a 10-game slate with this Canucks team, like, no, thank you. I really like Ottawa top line, Tkachuk, Norris, Batherson fully correlated on the power play, under 5%. Love it. If you want to use that second line, I guess you could. I'm really mostly on that top line. And, you look at the top 6 of the Canucks, both lines, their ownership are above 10%. I just can't do it.
Yeah, we have almost 14% for Vancouver 1, 11% for Vancouver 2. That's almost a quarter of the field will have some Vancouver stack on a 10-game slate. No, I'm out. Ottawa 1 for me. Maybe some Ottawa 3 as a filler. I like Formenton and Pinto and Brown. All right, I'm going to ask you for your hat trick pick very quickly. My hat trick pick for tonight, I'm going super chalk, Mr. Alex Ovechkin. What do you have?
I'm going expensive as well. I'm going David Pastrnak.
David Pastrnak. All right. Well, for our producer, Tyler, for Joshua Harris, and for Sub-Zero, I'm wishing everybody good luck tonight. And I think Jake's going to be with you tomorrow. So we'll see you then.